Hey guys, so I thought I would update you on what's going on with my reading this week. So thanks to Hurricane Flo, I was, I did do quite a bit more reading than usual because I didn't have the TV or the internet to distract me, although we did play some games. And we did do Sudoku, which, if you don't know, is a Japanese number game. It's kind of fun if and it's very I can't say that word. Strategic. Oh, God, now I sound like George Bush. Strategic. Okay. It involves critical thinking and strategy. I can say strategy, but I can't say the other word. It's the same word, just said in a different way. Strategic. Strategy, where you have to think. You have to place numbers 1 through 9 in each of the boxes. You have the page with the boxes, and you have to place numbers 1 through 9, going this way, and so on and so forth. It's kind of fun if you like that thing. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Some people even I get impatient with it. Because, it's hard to figure it all out and where each number is placed. But anyway, but I did get a lot more reading done. First, let me go over the list of books that I've been reading these past few weeks. So I didn't read really much of this one before, during little Flo's little temper tantrum, but one of the books I am currently reading is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. This one, I was motivated to read this by, I already forgot her real name. I told myself to remember her name, but I totally forgot. What is her name? Well, how about this? I will put in the Dropbox below. I'll get her name when I'm editing this, or not editing this, because I don't edit when I probably really should edit them. But while I'm letting this video upload, then I'll find her and put, is it Sam? Is she another Samantha? Is she another Sam? Actually, it might be Sam. She might be another person with the name Sam. I don't know. It might be her. I'll have to look her up. But she's the girl. She has that channel with the name from what they refer to Claire as when they first meet her in Outlander. That's her channel name, but that's as I've said in other videos, I cannot pronounce that word. Someone needs to tell me how to pronounce it. The problem is because I'm not listening to the Outlander series on audio, so I don't know how to say that word. But anyway, this girl who I think her name's also Sam, like Sam from Sam's Nonsense and Sam from Thoughts and Tomes. I think her name's also Sam. She fell in love with this book, and so I finally decided, hey, I'm Asian, I'm gonna go read this book. Yeah, seriously though, I thought, in a way I could kind of relate to this book, even though, in that I would get some of the jokes and everything, and some of the behaviors would be recognizable, and they kind of were, not the mother, Nick's mother is not as bad as my grandmother, because my mom's only half Asian. She would be like Nick and Rachel, and Astrid, where she was the kind of has been Americanized. But yeah, I kind of see my grandmother. She's not as mean and judgmental as Nick's mom is. But I think I can still kind of see her in Nick's mom. Kind of. But either way, so far from what I read, it's been kind of funny, and it's kind of cool that it's nice that the chapters are short. I really have recently realized, well, not that recently, but I have realized over last year and, probably around the time that I've joined BookTube, And maybe that's because there has at least been one tag that's asked, do you prefer long chapters or short chapters? And I can't remember what that tag is called. And the question made me realize and think, I kind of like shorter chapters. Like I said the first time I answered them, it doesn't matter to me, but it really does. I kind of really do like shorter chapters. Because then I want to read more. I want to read into the next chapter. And I'm not thinking about, although I will still count and see how many pages are in the chapter if I'm feeling a little restless. But yeah, I definitely like shorter chapters over longer chapters. Anyway, so not much. I've only gotten they haven't even gotten into Singapore yet. But they're talking. We go back and forth between all the people like Rachel and Nick, and then their families, and Nick's cousin Astrid. Like we go back and forth between those characters for each chapter, and get some background on their families, and there's definitely the mom is really worried because she finds out that Rachel's from, inland China, the part of China that's not near that's considered they're not as rich, and she's freaking out because she has all these prejudices. There's these prejudices and where Rachel comes from. Her last name happens to be Chu, and so her mom, Nick's mom, is thinking, and her friends are thinking, oh, she's part of the famous Chu family, but it turns out she's not. So like Nick's mom is like offended by that. She's like, she lied. It's like, no, she just happens to have the same last name. And it's really, I feel so bad for Rachel. I'm so worried for her because Nick's mom is not gonna like her. Although I'm curious what's gonna happen with Astrid, with her storyline, because they've established a very dramatic plot that's going on with her. So I'm already curious. I'm like, what's gonna happen? Like, how's her relationship gonna go? Because it has to do with her relation with her husband. And that already, from what I read, that relationship already had, there was judgment of that relationship. So, yeah, so it's definitely, it's very entertaining. I'm going to read a little bit more, but I'm going through a lot of books, and sometimes it's just easier for me to get into fantasy books and want to continue with fantasy books rather than, contemporary. Although I do appreciate adult contemporary. I prefer adult contemporary over YA contemporary. Because I can, although sometimes adults do act like teenagers. Let's face it. And I'm getting that impression with this book. Like, the adult characters, I could see them acting like teenagers at times. But and maybe it kind of goes with, the reason why Terry won't read young adult fiction, because she's like, I can't relate to that. And it still drives me crazy, but I can kind of understand because I don't read young adult contemporary, because it's true, you can't relate to that. I can't relate to that because I'm going to be 30 in a year, so I'm way past teenage years, even though I look like a teenager. But anyway, and I am also reading Nevernight. I finally got to book 2, and I am liking it. But again, I'm not completely 100% focused on it. There are so many other books that I want to read. I've been wanting to read Brandon Sanderson. I finally got into Brandon Sanderson, reading his books. And the same thing with Robin Hobb. I'm reading both the second books in their series. So it's I want to read those. And, I'm trying to get out of the habit of waiting too long before I read the next book. Because that's what happened with Fallen Kingdoms. I take so many breaks between each book. And I probably, once I get this book, I'm going to go straight into God's Grave as well. So, I'm already on book 2, and our two main characters, Mia Colbert and Dawn Trick, have finally gone to the school. And it's even scarier than real life high school. Because They can kill you. The kids in training can kill you. Like, literally, it's not a metaphor. They can actually kill you. So it's a little scarier than modern day high school. Because, at least those kids eventually won't, it's not like they can do anything really serious unless they get to the state where they want to kill themselves or they want to bring a gun to school, like what's been happening a lot lately. Which the problem isn't getting rid of guns. And okay, no, you know what? Scratch that. I'm not gonna get into that area. Sorry, I'm not gonna bring that up. So please do not respond to what I just said. But yeah, but either way, I think it's a little scary than high school. And also, the teachers can do a lot more different kinds of punishments in these kind of stories if you're doing something bad. They could kick you out, leave you out on the streets, or something. They can do like a lot more damage. So I read a little bit of this, and like I said, I've gone to book 2, but I think I did that before the power went out. I did bring it downstairs to read while the power went out, but I didn't get around to it because there are other books I was more interested in reading. Okay, well, let me show you. This is one of the books I did actually read during the few days we didn't have power. The second book in Assassin in Robin Hobb's Farseer trilogy. I'm on chapter 5. And I am feeling so bad for Fitz. Like, this is about after the events of the first book, Assassin's Apprentice, and this is the aftermath of what happened at the end of that book, like the consequences of that, and Fitz struggle because, what happens to him at the end of that book. And there's, trouble with him and Molly. There's trouble in their relationship because of misunderstandings, which really frustrates me, but unfortunately, he's part of the royal family, whether he's treated as such or not. So he can't really, for the sake of reputation, he can't say anything to Molly to defend himself and to tell her, no, that's not what happened. It was a misunderstanding. But even then, she's so emotional and so upset that she won't believe it, And she thinks so badly of the kid, and I feel so bad for him, but he can't do anything about it. Because he could potentially ruin her reputation. So it's really frustrating. But at least, and he's also very sick. Poor guy, I want to give him a hug. He's struggling so much, but he would probably hate that because he's a boy, typical male pride, not wanting to look weak and vulnerable. So he's all which drives me crazy because it's you dumbass, okay? It's nothing wrong. You're not weak, you're being over dramatic. I mean, you would think people would I think that Molly, if she knew the truth and didn't assume that you were drunk, then maybe if she knew the truth, but of course he can't tell her about his training in the first book, he has to keep that a secret. But if she knew, I'm sure she would be very understanding, want to protect and take care of him. Not that he would let her. Like Lacey's already doing, even though she doesn't know all the details, because she knows he's sick, which I'm kind of hoping that something happens between him and Lacey. And, I mean, yes, I know that would be a love triangle, and I don't want anyone to tell me if I'm right or not, but I think he'll be so cute. And then maybe Molly would realize, but then it could potentially backfire on him as well. Because, Lacey could be all, trying to want to put a wedge between them, though, so that Molly could never, get Fitz back, never get a chance with him. Or he could be caught in the middle of a girl fight, which would suck for him, because girls can get ugly and nasty. So, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. I'm trying to think of what else. But I think, I love the whole idea of the wit and the skill. I think that is really cool. I think that magic is a really cool concept. The idea of him connecting, and I am so mad at Burrick. I mean, I get his fear and everything, but it's like, so you're basically, he was gonna he practically disowned Fitz in the first book because, oh, he could potentially, if he has the wit, he could potentially become more animal than man. And now there are moments where he does get really angry and emotional, but it's like he's automatically assuming that Fitz is gonna become more man than beast. Now I'm wondering, because Fitz has figured out that Burrick probably has the wit too. He just doesn't keep it. He doesn't show it. So I'm wondering if maybe Burrick had once that he made that mistake, that he became more beast than man and almost lost himself. Obviously, if that did happen, he got himself back. He became more human again, but I'm wondering if maybe that's what happened to him, and that's why he's like freaking out and stuff, and automatically he's worried that that's what's gonna happen with Fitz. So, I don't know. But anyway, I haven't read so really that's all I gotta say on this book, because I have not gone very far, because this is one of those books with the long chapters, which I do not like. And it's also kind of hard to do that when you have no light and the light won't attach to your book because of its size. So you're uncomfortable with very little light and you are a little tired. It's kind of hard to read this book. It doesn't help when the chapters are really long. So anyway, so I am going to read a little bit of that today, and I apologize for the dog barking. So let me close this door. I don't know why he's barking. I don't know what's up with that. Okay, so I also did a little bit of this book as well. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I really like this book. I like the premise, and I think it's really cool. And it's just a bit of a slow read, because it's written, which I think is both good and bad. It's kind of, Suzanne kind of writes it like how a book would be written, like, she writes it like a Charles Dickens novel. That's the writing style, which I think it's kind of cool, but then it makes it slow. And let me go and let my dog out. But it's very slow, but it's also, I like how it's a very witty novel and kind of snarky at times. So it's basically about this magician that people believe the magic didn't exist from the world, and then this magician comes along, Mr. Norrell, and to prove them wrong, and how he gets involved with the Napoleonic War, and then eventually he meets, which I have not got to that part yet, but I do know from descriptions and hearing other people that eventually he will meet Jonathan Strange, who will be a younger magician who will have different ideas on things and how things are done, and it will come to fruition, and the two will be at war with each other. But like I said, I haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm just going by what I heard. So like I said, this is a very slow book. That's the only problem. And it's also kind of like with Nevernight. It has footnotes, which are I can see where footnotes would be kind of bothersome, but at the same time would be kind of interesting, because they give you a little bit of background on what you just read, but at the same time they can be a little distraction, because then you have a number that directs you to the footnotes, so you have to read the footnotes, or you feel like you have to. But anyway, it's still a good, fun, entertaining book, and I can't wait to get to Jonathan Strange part, but I got a little while to go before that happens. But so far it's good. I'm really liking it. And I finally started reading, because I had, Defy the Stars by Claudia Gray, and I think the second book came out last year. What date did it say the date? Defy the World, that's what the second book is called. Unless I saw it on Goodreads. It's a sci-fi world. It's a sci-fi story. Oh, no. Here it is. Don't miss the thrilling sequel to Defy the Worlds. It doesn't say when it's gonna come out. But it's basically in the future, like, the humans are at war with these androids who are really powerful, really intelligent, and one of the humans, a teenage soldier girl who's like, I think she's 17, she has to go rescue a friend who got lost on the battlefield. And when she goes to find her, but then at the same time when she goes to find her, she comes across another spaceship with an android, Abel, built by the scientists who made the original androids that they're fighting. And on this spaceship, when she runs across him, her friend ends up dying, and she and Abel are on their way to head back to, are forced to work together and head back to the planet where the human girl, what's her name, Naomi, lived on. And and it turns out that Abel has some vital information that she needs to bring back to her planet Genesis. And it goes back and forth between Abel and Naomi's perspectives, and the chapters are short, which is kind of typical of young adult fiction. A lot of times in young adult, or at least the young adult books I've read, the chapters are usually really short. But then so it's very interesting so far. I've been wanting to read more, like, not only just sci-fi in general, but I like the idea of reading books about humans interacting with androids, and especially when the android is someone that wants to be more human and shows human tendencies, even though they can't really express emotion or anything like that. Like, I am totally in love with Data from Next Generation, and he's really the reason why I want to read more stories about that, because he's just, him and Andrew from Bicentennial Man, played by Robin Williams, and AI, starring Haley Joel Osment, and then Data, of course, is played by Brent Spiner. So I've seen quite a few I've never read stories about AI characters or android-type characters and human interacting, and the android becoming more human, and the actual human being, like, conflicted because the android is still a machine. It's still a robot, like, physically, and can never truly be a human, but they can't express human emotion. So he or she is usually really conflicted, because they're still just a machine, but then at the same time they start to realize that this machine is a little more than they seem. They're not just a machine. And I've always been fascinated by stories like that, but so far I've only watched movies and seen TV shows about it. So I had wanted to read a book about it, so I started with this one, and it's an easy read. Like I said, the chapters are very short, and it's fun so far. I'm enjoying it. And, like, Abel's arrogance is very amusing. I mean, if I were in Naomi's situation, I would get frustrated. But as a reader, I'm very entertained by his cockiness and his arrogance and his belief that what he's saying is right. He doesn't realize. He doesn't have, what's the word? I'm trying to think. When you just don't. You're not self-aware, and you have no concept of social cues, and you just don't realize. There's a term I'm trying to think of. You just don't have any, like, you don't realize when something is, you shouldn't be saying something, and you should be more understanding and patient with someone. You just say the wrong thing in the wrong moment without realizing it's the wrong thing to say. Like, you say a lot of inappropriate concepts, and you don't really understand human emotions, and you just state the facts. You don't think about, because an android wouldn't be able to help it, because they aren't built that way. But it's very amusing seeing Abel and Naomi interact. Okay, so I'm also started reading this one, The Immortalist. I got more into this one, it's basically about these siblings, who when they were kids, a psychic had moved into their neighborhood, and they were told that she will predict your death for you. And when they go to see her when they're kids, so it's about how her prediction for their death affects their lives into adults, and does it influence their decisions, or does it not influence their decisions? It's kind of about that. Like, would it have been better if they didn't know, or would it be better or is it better that they do know? And so far, I've only gotten to the youngest boy's story, Simon, who he's only like 16. He was only 16 when he left home. He ran away with home and ran with his sister to San Francisco. And her story is the second story we're gonna get. And like, he didn't want to be. He was always, because it was always him and his mom. He was the one who takes care of his mom. He's the one who has to end up running the family shop. And he finally gets fed up with it. He gets tired of having to take care of his mom, which I found it funny because, well, he ends up going with his sister to San Francisco without his mom's, and then his mom is heartbroken and everything, and she keeps calling him, trying to get him to come home. And then his siblings, his older siblings, who are like at the end of, in college, they are forced to come home and help their mom. So they're all like helping her, trying to bring Simon home and everything. And his older brother is like, why? I don't know if it's his older brother or older sister. But they're all like, I'm always having to take care of. Why am I the one who has to take care of mom and everything? And I'm thinking, you're not the one. Simon is the one who's always taking. He's the one who has to stay home because he's still in high school. He can't go anywhere. He's the one who's like, his mom is asking him to run the shop for the family. He's the one who's taken on the responsibility of running. He's been given the responsibility of running a shop, and on top of that, not only are these expectations on him, but there's also the fact that he is gay. And he can't bring himself to tell his parents. And his dad thinks being gay is a sin. So he couldn't even tell his dad that he was gay. And the book actually starts with the dad being gone. That's why Simon is the one who's going to inherit the shop, because the dad has died. So it's like, and I feel so frustrated for Simon, because, like I said, I don't know if it was the oldest sister or the older brother being like, why am I always the one? It's like, no, you're not always the one. Simon is always the one, because he's the one who stays home all the time. He's the one that couldn't leave, especially because, of course, he was in high school. So I kind of get where his brother was like, Simon, you haven't even finished high school and everything. But at the same time, I get his frustration in deciding to run away from home. And I don't think it's fair that his mom disowned him, but the problem is it's also partly his own fault, because he never tried to talk to his parents. I mean, and who knows, maybe his mom won't listen and won't be like, no, you can't just do that, or no, you're not gay, and you're committing sin, and you broke my heart when you tell me you're gay, and be like, well, no, you can't have this life, you have to stay here and run the shop, because someone has to take care of the shop. Because she does say that, basically something like, not about him being gay, but the whole running the shop thing, and how she was like, we can't lose, the shop needs to stay in the family, didn't you ever think about that, and all that kind of stuff. And that's as far as I got. Like, we haven't, and what Simon ends up doing is he becomes a dancer for a club, I think a gay club, I think. He becomes a dancer, and then he gets, it's during the time of Harvey Milk, when he was alive and trying and being a politician for the people who are gay, like for gay rights. And Simon also has a boyfriend, gets a boyfriend who happens to not only be gay, but a black man. So there's a lot of that whole prejudice and all the societal struggles of people that not only gay people, but the fact that his boyfriend is black. But anyway, so far it's really good. It's very interesting, and I'm going to continue reading soon. I've also read a little bit more of The Female's Persuasion, which is about Greer Godetsky. She's this young woman that, a college student. She doesn't get into the college she wanted to get into because her parents didn't pay the tuition, and they didn't want to pay it because it would be too hard, because her parents are kind of hippies, and she's kind of the more of the adult in the relationship between her and her parents. So there's a lot of animosity between her and her parents, and it's worse because her boyfriend Corey also got into the good school. Okay, when the door does that, gets into the school that he wanted to get into, and even though but things end up being okay because her roommate drags her to this feminist event where there's a speaker who's kind of the Gloria Steinem of the story, and she ends up getting a job with this woman. Her name's Faith Frank, and so far it's been about her relationship with this woman, how she becomes part of her group, and how she struggled, and how it kind of affects her view of things. And I know that eventually it's going to really affect her relationship with Corey. And so far it's a really good book, very interesting. And it's a very entertaining story. I'm definitely going to recommend it to I would love for my friends to read this. Not Terry, because Terry probably won't read this book, but Larissa and my friend Therese, I think I would recommend this book to them. I think they would really like this book. Okay. So, hi Sophie, my Sophie girl just came up here. Okay, so next, I also am reading this book. This is one of the books I got back in August, Acacia. It's probably a trilogy. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. A trilogy or a series. This is about this family of these kids, and their father gets murdered, and it's about them going on the run and trying to escape. And there's this big war going on between all the countries. And the reason why they thought the father was murdered was because the people thought he was a weak king. So that leads to a war, this all-out war between all the different countries and nations, and these 4 kids are caught in the middle. And actually, as I said in a previous video, the kids kind of remind me of the Stark siblings a little bit. Sadly not including, actually I don't know if I talked about this book in a previous video, but the four actual biological Starks, sadly not Jon Snow. Well, although I guess he is biological, because if you R plus L equals J, then he is kind of a biological child of theirs, but he's their cousin. So the king just got murdered, and I don't know what's gonna happen. The kids I haven't got to the chapter where the kids actually find out what happens to their dad, and I don't know. I guess they're gonna have to leave. I don't know. They might have to leave their palace. Which is really sad and heartbreaking, because it's really hard, because the oldest boy is, I think, only 16. He's not old enough to take on the role of king yet. So I don't know what's gonna happen with these kids. But I definitely cannot wait to read more. And again, this is another book where the chapters are really short. But this is another book I read during the break as well. During the hurricane. A little bit of that. And then I also read Sweet Bitter by Stephanie Damler. This is about this young idealistic woman, this very naive idealistic woman who I feel like I kind of can relate to her in a way, except for the whole going to New York part. I have not done that. I have been to New York, but I've never been on my own before. And she gets this job at a local restaurant, and it's about her learning this first part was about her learning the in and outs of this restaurant life. It's very fast paced, and she has to learn about food and wine. And then she meets all of her. Now, I don't know if this is a trope. I mean, I feel like this is a trope in a lot of books where a character joins a group, whether it's at a job or or going to a new school, where there's people there that treat to be. I guess it's part of the initiation where the main protagonist, gets treated like crap by the group, but then they earn the group's respect and their friendship eventually. But for the first part, they get treated horribly, and it's like if they stick it out and handle that being treated like crap, then they're in. I see that all the time, and that's kind of what happens here. But unfortunately, she also is going to get mixed up with some other characters in their toxic little relationship. So far, again, this is another really good, interesting book. I think it's really cool learning the ins and outs of a restaurant life, and just seeing. And I always, in seeing these characters interact, and these friends mess with each other and play with each other, and it's just. People are fascinating. People are so weird and interesting. Especially when they lead really interesting lives. So, this is it's a really good book, and another book that I'm definitely going to recommend to my friends when I'm done with it. But I don't know if I want to give it up. Physically give it to me. Okay, next. This is a book that will be hard for me to sum up but I'm also reading Malice, because this was a book that I saw on Elliot Brooks' channel on her bookshelf. I don't know if she's actually. I was just thinking the other day, what if it's a book that she hasn't actually read? Like, she's interested in reading, but what if she hasn't actually read it yet? I think that'd be really funny. I am liking it so far, though. Again, another book where the chapters are really short. But it's a multi-perspective story about these characters, and there's this looming war going on, and it's all their perspective on the war. And there's some kid characters in the story as well, young teens, growing up, and it just has a lot of, there's one character who, he doesn't support his father's choices, and he's ready to usurp his father because he doesn't agree with his father's method. But there's this young boy, I'm guessing he's 16 or something, I can't remember, in his personal journey to, be a lot braver and stronger and not be pushed around, and he's being trained. And there's this one character who has been put into one of the guard, or I don't know what the term is. He's working for the prince who's questioning his father. He ends up working for him. It's hard for me to sum up books like this, especially as I'm reading them. I have to finish the book to really do a good summary. But it's very interesting, and I like the whole I love multi-perspective stories where we get multiple points of view. We spend time with more characters, with each of the characters, seeing their perspective on the situation. Especially because these characters, it's a very complicated plot, and there's a lot of maneuvering. It's like a chess game, which is typical of books like this, I feel like. they remind me of a chess game. Like, every player's on the table and making their moves and stuff. It's really good and very interesting. I love all the characters. And like I said, this is one of those books where I would like to be able to get really excited about it, really passionate about it. It's like, it's my book, it's my story. I'm the one who knows it best. Well, not knows it best, but I know a lot about it, and I like go gaga over it, and just like, it's something I got into before it got to be really popular on BookTube. That's a lot of times how I feel. Oh, that's why he's barking. My parents are outside in the yard. This is one of those, I want it to be like my book, the book that I introduce people to, that I'm passionate about, that I'm excited about. Because right now, like, my best friend Larissa, I've been trying to get her to continue with Lunar Chronicles, and she's still procrastinating. I mean, the difference between her and Terry, like, I tried to get Terry to read Avatar, but then I kind of ruined it because she's very picky she does not like love triangles. She wants to make sure that the guy that the girl is with in the beginning of the book is the guy that she's going to end up with at the end of the book or series. Like, she doesn't want there to be a possible potential other guy, because she has told me that a lot of times when she watches or reads books that have love triangles in them, that it's like the protagonist never ends up with the person that she wants them to end up with. So because of that, she's like, I don't want love triangles, because then I never like the person they end up with. And yeah, that happens sometimes, but it doesn't happen that often to me when I read, because I have my favorites, and it does happen, but it's like, at the end of the day, I don't really care. Yeah, I'm disappointed for a little while, but then it's like, I go into another world, another story, and it's like, but it doesn't happen to me that often. Like, on Lost Girl, the main character, Bo, the protagonist Bo, who was a girl, by the way, I never really liked her name, Bo. Because then it's like, I think of like Bo Peep, or Bo is, a redneck guy, or like Bo wasn't someone's beau, or Bo is in a bow tie. I never really liked her name, but Bo does not end up with the person I wanted her to end up with. But at the end of the day, I was like, it's fine, whatever, who cares? But anyway, but now that's the only reason that she's with Larissa, on the other hand, still different, because she is enjoying the book, like me with some other books, but it's just she hasn't got to focus on it, which is really frustrating, because I want to talk about it with her. I want to go gaga over her, because she's not as particular about her reading as, like, Terry is. So I cannot wait to read. And I just realized I should really not say as much about Terry and her picking and how she's particular about her reading, because Terry introduced her mom to these videos, or at least the videos that Terry and I did back in July. So I really hope she doesn't introduce, because then now I feel bad that I keep mentioning and complaining about how picky Terry is. I mean, not that her mom would like get mad at me, but I always get nervous because I think about, sometimes I feel like I don't treat her as good as I should. And I always worry what her other friends and what her family would think. Because I feel like sometimes I'm a bad friend. Because I get frustrated with her. And I can be very impatient with her. So I know that it's wrong and it's unfair. It's something I need to work on as a friend. But, it is very hard to do that. But that's an excuse. I really need to work on it. But anyway, so I'm really loving this book. It's so far been my favorite, and I really hope I get the next 2 books for Christmas. But I also really hope I get, which reminds me, this video is already getting pretty long, so, I'm also reading The Well of Ascension, and today I ended up buying these, books from Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time series. Now, I've heard some criticism about the series, but I went ahead and bought them anyway, because there weren't a lot of sci-fi fantasy, so, and this was the only books that I was excited about, so I got the last book in that series, and then I also got the first book in the series. So, part 1 apparently. So, but it's cheap. It was fairly cheap. So anyway, okay, well, those are all of what I've read so far this week. And I'm going to continue reading into this week. Although, like read some tonight and then read some tomorrow, but then maybe read during the day on Wednesday, but then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday I'm going to work. And then I'm on another little mini vacation at the end of the month. I'm going up to visit my sister, and we're going to go pumpkin and apple picking and wine tasting. Although, what really sucks is because I don't think we'll be able to get a pumpkin. Because, we'll have to take it home, and it's a 5-hour drive. But anyway, so if you guys weren't too bored and liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you are enjoying all your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.